Are you a job hopper? And if so, does it matter and should you care? Well, for those of us who started our careers 100 years ago, that is, any time prior to 2008, I think is about the cutoff, it was a big deal. If you didn't stay somewhere for at least 10 years and you were moving around multiple times within any given 10-year period, that felt like job hopping, and that tended to be a negative. People looked at that as somebody who wasn't stable because those kinds of stable opportunities were everywhere. In fact, they were the norm. And nowadays, the actual average length of stay on a job is less than 4 years. It's like 3.4. And so what used to be considered job hopping is now totally normal and expected. And really, it's fine. It's just different. I would suggest that it's just different than it was before 2008. Because back before 2008, when you had these 10, 15, 20-year runs, sometimes 40-year runs, people would work one job or at one company rather their whole career. And hopefully had a different job in the company, right? Hopefully you were progressing, but at least with the same company. But that was just the thing. It was because you were progressing. There was a career path within that company. And there weren't a lot of options. You couldn't just jump out and jump up over here and jump up over there and work up a ladder with different firms. You had to work up the ladder within a firm, because if you jumped out, people looked at you as a job hopper, and you could maybe do that once or twice in your career, but you couldn't do that every few years. And so you were stuck, if you will, at one company going up a path. Now, the good news, though, was that if you stayed there 10 years, you probably worked through a path that really qualified you to be where you ended up. Now, sometimes you were stuck somewhere and plateaued, and that's maybe why you left, and you were overqualified for where you were, but you were definitely at least qualified to be there. You weren't in over your head because the companies tended to not let you move too quickly. I remember in my accounting days, I was never actually an accountant, but I worked at accounting firms. And it was typically an 8 to 10-year project to get to be partner. 2 years as consultant or accountant, 2 years as senior consultant or senior accountant, 2 years as a manager, 2 years as a senior manager, and then you could finally get to partner. And sometimes some of those steps would only take a year, sometimes 3 years, so it averaged about 8. And there was no really good way to jump up there faster. But by the time you got to be a partner, everybody knew that you did what it took and that you had followed the path and you had the legitimate experience. So that was the plus side of that system. Obviously, the downside was you had to stay with one company in one system for a long period of time. Now, jump over to today. In today's world, we've got people hopping around a lot and creating their own career ladders up these things, jump into different companies. And the good news is you have freedom to do that, and it's accepted and even expected. If you stay somewhere for 10 years, people look at it like, well, why would you stay there? Like, what's wrong with you that you're still there after all these years? Why aren't you marketable enough and valuable enough to go jump somewhere else? It's almost the opposite of what it used to be. But the downside is you're not guaranteed of getting the experience that you need to progressively move. Now, you may jump from job to job and your title and your salary may increase as you move, but you may not get all the training that you need. You may not be there long enough to experience some of the things that you need to be really confident in moving along to your next career. So don't worry about being a job hopper today. And if somebody says that's a thing, they're probably somebody from a bygone era, somebody who built their career pre-2008 and still has that pre-2008 mindset. Because today it is totally not a thing. So don't let people tell you that it is. I mean, a resume is barely a thing. So how can something on your resume be a thing? But do concern yourself with getting the right experience and make sure that each time you make a move, make a jump, that you're moving towards something and hopefully toward a consistent path towards something, not just moving for sure away from something. You don't really, unless it's super horrible, you don't want to be just moving away from something bad. You want to be moving towards something good, but hopefully it's on a path on the career sightline that you see right now. Now that can change, but for now it's an intentional move that's increasing your experience so that you can become more valuable.